So what is really important is to get to know the features of these generations, to understand how they think, what they want.
Until right now, this very moment, contractors have always been on their own, not as tradespeople, but being alone and knowing how to take their business to the next level. They call us working class, they call us blue collar. They say that we don't have the smarts to become the business owner that we're meant to be. That is such bullshit. You have the ability. You're more than any of that. The question really is, where do you get the insights that you need specific to contracting to systemize your business so you can get your profits to pay for your freedom? I'm Andrew Houston. I'm going to show you how to make more profits, how to get more control, how to get more freedom in the simplest, quickest way possible without any of that bullshit. Welcome to the No Bullshit Podcast for Contractors. Listen up, level up, and if you learn something, like the video, subscribe to the channel, change your business, change your life. Hey Rockstars, Andrew Houston here with another No Bullshit Podcast for Contractors. I've got an amazing guest with me, but let's first of all see if the title of this resonates with you guys, okay? Hiring A players without wasting your time and killing your profits. Let's think about that for a second. Vero, how's it going?
Good.
Good. So Vero, we got you here because you're our HR expert, correct?
Oh, it's supposed to be like that. Yeah, I work in the HR department here at PFC. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, I wanted to bring you onto this podcast because one of the greatest struggles that contractors have is, number one, they know they can't do it alone. They know they got to build a team. And it honestly is an epidemic in the world of especially contractors. Okay, I'm sure this applies to other industries, but especially contractors, where there's a massive shortage of people, and the contractors really struggle. They struggle to find these people, attract them, get them on board, and keep them. I mean, there's a lot of aspects to hiring and building an A team. Would you agree?
Yes, totally agree with you. In fact, well, first, thank you for having me here. I'm really glad to be here and share a little bit of my knowledge and experience with our community. But it's really happening. And you know what? Where is more difficult is the new generations are different from the last ones. And what we think we know, well, we don't know that much.
So let's get into that. Okay. So everybody listening in, we're going to be going through different aspects of this conversation. Okay. This isn't like the end all to be all to help you guys with your hiring challenges and in finding, attracting, landing, and building an A team. But what we're going to do is we're going to cover off certain areas that is super important that, a lot of the contractors, probably, I'd say like 95% of the contractors that come to us to become champion CEOs, they're not aware of these things. They don't have these insights. And the reality is effort does not equate to results. In other words, you could put out as many ads as you want. You could want to hire somebody as bad as you want. You could spend all this freaking money, hire a freaking, a headhunter, go spend fucking $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 in Facebook ads, whatever. And you're like, man, I'm still not getting the results. So we want to address things. It's almost like the hiring secrets, okay, that you really need to be aware of before you try to post another ad, before you try to interview somebody, so that you guys can get the I almost call it like the unfair advantage over your competition and accelerate your ability to build an A team. So let's get into one of the first ones that you highlight, which is super important. Like, why did you bring that up? Why did you bring up that like this generation or the millennials are not like the last one? Like, so what? So what, Vero? They're a little bit different. What's the big deal?
It's super, super important. You know what? Millennials and Gen Z are the new generations, right? Something important to note here is that now, in our businesses, we have 5 generations coexisting, and that's a big challenge. But why do we have to focus in the millennials and Gen Z? Because recent studies show it that by 2025, millennials and Gen Z will represent the 80% of the workforce. So you have to know this.
Say that again. And by the way, everybody listening in, some of this stuff, I'll be straight up with you, This is new for me too. Okay? Like
Yeah.
some of the stuff. So repeat that statistic again.
So in a few years, like
Yeah.
by 2025,
Yeah.
millennials and Gen Z, these two generations, will
Yeah.
be representing the 80% of the overall workforce.
How is
So,
that?
yeah, because the young people are the new workers, basically. So what is really important is to get to know the features of these generations, to understand how they think, what they want, etc. Because knowing that, you're going to put everything in place to attract them and retain them.
So what are like, I'm telling you, you just stumped me there for a second. Like I'm processing in my mind going like, I knew it was important, but everybody listening, like think about that for a second. Okay. If 85% of the workforce is these two generations, okay. If you don't focus in on understanding them, sorry, you're screwed. But if you do though, it's going to amplify your success because it's not like we got a few generations and it's a third and a third and a third. It's like, man, if you really get this dialed in, there's going to be so much opportunity for you, because the majority of the competition or other contractors out there, like your competition, if they don't learn how to speak this language, you're going to be like a freaking irresistible magnet. Am I on the right page here?
Yes, totally. I agree with you. And because it's like you have to understand something to address that something. Okay. So these two generations, what they have, the interesting thing about these two generations is that their interests are different from the past. So they have so many characteristics, etc. But I find special two that are really important. The first one I would say that is that these are tech generations. Okay, these people were raised and born around computers, with internet, with social media networks, etc. So they not only value this, but they give it a lot of space in their lives. So for you to have an idea, these people spend 7.2 hours per day online. And that's where it becomes really important to have presence on social media, because they are always in that place.
Crazy.
So that's the way you're going to get to them. Yes, of course, that's critical.
You know
and
what?
Another thing, tell me. No. Tell me, because it's really interesting.
It just hit me, it just hit me. I got two beautiful kids, okay? I got Madison, who's 21. I got Michael, who's 18. And instantly when you said that, I'm like, really, Vero, 7 hours? And I'm like,
yeah.
Wait a second.
Yeah.
I look at my children and I'm like, Madison, Michael, get off the phone. What are you doing? We go for dinner, right? I'm like, what? Give me the phone. They're like, come on, Dad. I'm like, you either turn it off or give me the phone. And my wife's like, Andrew, and I'm like, no, seriously, we're here as a family. And they're like on these freaking phones. I'm bringing that up because I was like, really? And then I'm like, oh my God, I can totally relate to that. So imagine that's the workforce, right?
Totally. It's a phone, the tablet, the notebooks, it's everything, Tish, everywhere. Okay. That's the first, characteristic that I find really interested about that, because that tells us what we have to do to get to them. But the other thing there is really important, that when it comes to work and jobs, etc., people always think about salary. That is really important, of course. But you know what? These generations really appreciate having the sense of purpose in a company, in their jobs. So for these two generations, it's really important that their personal values are aligned to the company. So we can offer them, this possibility, this option, and they will be like, please. So having in mind just those things are super powerful to create a strategy to get to the people that you want, to your air players. So that's really, really, really important. So that tells you not only about their features, but as well your challenges. So if you know what you have to deal with, you're going to be prepared for that. So that's really, really important and interesting.
Okay, I'm gonna ask you a couple of questions here. What are the age groups? What's sort of the age range of the? So tell me these two. Like, say the name of them. I don't know if I'm sure. I don't know if you know this, but let's if you do, great. If you don't, that's okay. Tell me what the name, like name the one and say it's sort of within this age range, and then this one in this age range. So what's sort of the age range of these two different?
I mean, the age range, I don't know, but we have to think that for example, for an internship, we want young people, and they could be like 18, 20, for example.
Right.
So, that's the start point of every worker normally.
Right. Okay.
So that's interesting to keep in mind. But for example, millennials, I'm a millennial. I was born in 1986. So
like 21 years old. So you're like 21?
Oh my God, Andrew.
I'm just teasing.
Well, yeah, okay, but cool. The range is like, really
let me tell you
really
why.
Big, but
Okay, let me tell you why. Ready for this? And I don't know, maybe I can get a slap on the hand for saying this, but let's just make this real. Okay. So Vero, that we're growing profit for contractors. One of the things that we're doing to grow that is bringing on more salespeople to help more contractors.
Yes.
Well, part of the process, we have a process, everybody. We don't need to get heavily into that, but we're going to touch on that, the importance of a process. But part of that process is like these people have a conversation with me, right? Interesting enough that there's a couple of people that we were interested in. And in our process, part of, me having the conversation is to explain to them our values and what we're about, and, explain to them like a bit of under the hood of our products and services and things of that nature. Swear to God, okay? Strike me down if this isn't true, okay? This is the language of these people, okay? And we're talking like a 31-year-old and a 35-year-old, something like that. Okay? Both of them. Listen, Andrew, I want to, the current place I'm at, okay, it doesn't really drive me and fuel me. I've been looking at your videos on the podcast. I've been looking at you online. I've been downloading these tools that you give out to contractors, and through the conversations that I've had so far and what I've seen, like I just love your values and I want to be part of this. I want to help people. It's not so much about the money for me, and I'm not joking, guys. I'm not joking. Seriously, guys. The one person's like, man, I was making hundreds of thousands of dollars at the place that I'm currently at, and it just doesn't do it for me. I'm like, okay, what does that mean? I'm willing to start at the bottom. So everybody listening in, this is happening live, like right here, right here at Profit for Contractors. And I wasn't like trying to pull that out of them. They're like telling me, right? Back to what you're saying, like they looked at it. They're all looking at us on the phone. They're downloading and listening to all online. Values. Oh, it's not all about the money. Like you're bang on.
Yeah, because it is. In so many interviews, I've been hearing like, okay, they apply online, they want to have interviews online, and at the same time, I've been hearing like, I want to make the difference for the world. I want to help people. So it's about what they want, the greatest good, So it's really interesting, and I've been having the same experience such as you, and it's really surprised me, but at the same time it feels good because the world is changing. So the HR processes, the recruitment processes, the way that we approach to these things. So it's important that we are aware, because that's the first step to start, making the changes.
So let's bring these insights that you've got to the table. Okay, like a contractor, an owner's listening in on this, and they're going, yeah, this is starting to resonate with me. Like, hey, what the hell do I do with this? Okay, so what would be some of the things you mentioned? Some of them, but I think we just want to be really clear. Okay. One of them you mentioned, and then let's segue into some other aspects of this, is being willing to have an interview with them online. Somebody might be listening and going, that's not, what are you talking about? Whatever. That's not a big deal. It is to these people.
It is to these people. Yes, totally. I believe that to take this into practice, I believe that our contractors can do several things. For example, having social media, for example, Instagram, Facebook, trying to have presence on those places, because it's where our, future employees already are. That's one thing. But the other thing is that to be open to have at least the first interview online. It could be, a phone call with, with a video, turn it on, or it could be by Zoom or whatever. At least the first one. That just a big little step. So I don't know, what do you think? But how do you feel when you are interviewing someone, online? What does that feel like? Mhm.
For me,
Yeah.
well, being, I consider PFC innovators. Okay. So I've been doing the online thing a
Mhm.
long time, way before most people in this space were willing to do it online. And I didn't do it with maybe the right purpose, in the sense of, well, I shouldn't say not the right purpose, but it wasn't so much I got lucky. Okay.
Okay.
I got so frustrated, trying to, physically going to see people and help them, and not being able to help as many people as I wanted because of, here in Canada, like fucking snowstorm. Sorry, man, can't make it, and I just got so frustrated. I was like, listen, I can't help the number of people that I want to help in the way that I want to help it. And it's dangerous for me. And I got a young family, and I almost got in a car accident, and like, okay, enough,
Mhm.
So I went online. And I wanted to, so I was using GoToMeeting like seriously a decade ago, super expensive back then, but I
Mhm.
started off doing the phone call thing, but I was like, no, I want the personal thing, like, so I can see their faces and their reactions and stuff. So for me, I love it. I mean, Vero, we had, we have an amazing team, right? We had like
Yeah.
how many dozens and dozens of people online at one point, in Halloween costumes and stuff. So I love
Mhm.
it, right? We're in 13 different countries. Like, everybody listen to this for a second, okay? I'm
Mhm.
not trying to turn you into, us, like a coaching company, but I just want you to understand, like, I've got this amazing person, Vero, here today, who's, head of our HR. We got a
Mhm.
whole amazing team. And I'm going to tell you, 13 different countries. There's no way we could have reached these amazing people having to go, hey man, every call we have has to be physical. Like, look at guys, I get that you're hiring tradespeople who need to be on site and stuff like that. But these initial conversations, you have to make it an easy entry point. And
Totally.
technology is a comfort zone for them. So either you get comfortable with where they're comfortable, or if you don't, they're not going to want to come and work with you because they're not comfortable.
Yeah, totally agree with you. That's a good point, because of course we are trades, and the work, the job is physical, but those fair contacts could be perfectly online. And it's, a way to make sure they're going to be there, because something that happens really, often is that people don't show up to the interview. So that's a way to increase the chance of them to be part of that interview that you want to have. So it's really, really important, interesting. It's just the first interview. Maybe you want to do an assessment or whatever that you want, but that's first touch. It could be perfectly done by, in a way that is online, or by phone, or
Totally.
whatever that you feel comfortable with. Yes.
And you said something that I want to just not retract. I agree with you, but just like, I just want to catch it. Okay.
Mhm.
You said that first touch. Okay. I understand what you're saying, but I just want to be clear to
Yes.
everybody. The first touch is how they see you online. Okay. So I've got a little list here. We don't need to go in depth in all of it, but Vera, you came up with a list. Sorry, everybody, I don't have this mega memory. So let me just go through it. And
Mhm.
then I want to apply it from an online presence, from potentially an ad perspective. And I want you to really think about it. So when I go through this list, we start talking about it, I want you to mentally, if you have your ad in front of you, or you have an old ad, or you remember a bit of what your ad looks like, okay? I want you to think of this from an audit perspective, okay? I want you to think to yourself, does my ad contain any of this, okay? Secondly, I want you to think about from an online presence. Does my online presence contain any of this? So right now, here live, no bullshit, hence the no bullshit clause. I want you to listen in on this. You can pause it, you can rewind it, if you're hearing it live, great, okay? But go back to this. And honestly, if you want to improve your process, this is a great opportunity to listen to these points and audit your ad, audit your presence, audit how do you communicate in the interview. And you might be like, yeah, but Andrew, it's one list. Yet this one list applies to every single phase of the process. So are we ready, Vero?
Of
This is
course.
your list,
Mhm.
okay? So these people are
Mhm.
looking for a work-life balance, okay?
Mhm.
They're looking for personal growth and development. They're looking for, options as far as communication preferences. Okay, that could be technology, that could be like different ways that they can communicate, right? It could be software, different things of that nature, like, hey man, I'm on site or whatever, but it's technology. They have a higher expectation as far as a workplace balance around culture. Okay, so when you think about your values, when you think about what your culture is about, is it a fun environment? Is it an exciting environment? Is it an environment that stimulates growth? Like, think about that. And then as I'm going through keep asking yourself, what in your ads or online presence or any part of your hiring process has these in it? Okay. They need to feel that they have meaningful work, right? That they feel connected and have a purpose. Okay. So let's think about that for a second. I'm going to guarantee something. 95 of contractors that come to us and we complain, can't find anybody. Vero, how many of those things do you think that they have in their hiring process or their ads or online presence?
God, not so many. Do not say zero.
Almost zero. Okay. Honestly, you might not like what I'm about to tell you. And Vero, you tell me, because we help contractors hire people, right? We have a whole system for doing this, a done for you system for you guys, or for champion CEOs. We have a whole process that if they want to do it, they can take the process that works and applies all this kind of stuff. Okay. They still have to make it personal because one company's culture is different than somebody else's, but it applies all these people. Okay. But like, honestly, you, the listener, the owner that I'm talking to right now. Okay. How many of these things do you have in your process? Or does your process look something like this? Especially your ads is a good example. I need somebody to work overtime. I need somebody to work night shift. I need. And I'm looking at it going like, so 95% of contractors that come to us with this hiring issue, within seconds, we look at their ad and go, dude, would you work for this guy? Would you apply? So Vero,
that's a good question.
Like, when you look at this, how well does this work when they start doing this?
Well, really, let me say a few things here. First thing is that is taking, to build on what you mentioned, is that when we design an ad, we're going to have a podcast for that, I know, later, second part, but you have to write your ad thinking about them, not only what you need, but how to think just as them to connect with them. So you have to think into why they care. You have to focus on future learning. You have to pay attention not only to the experience, but their skills, because if you say like, I'm trying to find someone who likes innovation, for example, they are going to feel like, oh, that's me, so that's really interesting. And something really, really interesting here that we find out is that don't use whimsical job titles, use just the simple ones, because those fancy names are not, the best. They want simple. They want to know everything just with the word of the job title. So that's really important. With this Done For You hiring program that we have, it has been amazing because we were able to help so many contractors, and at the same time, people that need, to have a job, they want to improve their life, have, better opportunities, etc. So it's a win-win. It's the way I can say this. But it's been really a learning process to understand, the contracting business, the contracting potential candidates. And it's in a service of when we, create landing pages for open positions. We help our contractors build their company culture, their employer brand. That is important because it's where our potential candidates are going to find the company. They have to trust in the process, and for that they have to trust in the company. So the way you speak about your company, what is pouring out there, is talking about you. Is the way you're going to say, okay, I'm a good place to work, come to work with me and you'll be happy. So that's really the big difference. Not only about finding you the right person, the player unit, is to help you build your brand, your employer brand, and to make you think about your own culture. And based on that, we found everything else, so it's really interesting.
So important. It's so important. So look, from what we covered off, we're going to wrap this up in about 5. I got one other area, and I think we should do a part 2 of this. Okay. I think we should go deep into, I think part 2, what we're going to do, everybody, is we're going to go deep into like the effects of the other side of the fence, which is hiring, the wrong people and the costs.
Oh my God. I have some stats about that really
It's
interesting.
crazy. It's crazy. So
Crazy.
let's look at this and let's just commit to, we're going to do another podcast, probably the next one, or like probably, I'm going to commit to, it'll be, right after this, part 2. Okay.
Yeah.
And we're going to get into the effects of hiring the wrong people and even keeping the wrong people, right? Like, what I
That
mean?
happens.
The wrong person is the wrong person, whether you just hire them or
Yeah.
you've had them for a while, right?
Mhm.
But, if we look at this, I want you guys to, I want you to really think about what Vero is saying here. Does every contractor, Vero, have the ability to adapt to this?
Totally. 100%.
What makes you say that?
Because they already have it. They just don't use it. I've been hearing that I don't have a culture. Of course, you have a culture. You just has to step back and start things, from another perspective. Because the way you talk, the way you communicate with your people, the way your people feel, that makes your culture and your. So
I love it. It's just, it just has to be, it has to be just brought out of you, right? Like, so give me an example of if somebody's listening in on here,
Mhm.
go, okay, Vero, like, this is really great stuff. Like, man, I listened to you guys. I looked at my ad, man, it doesn't have any of that. Man, I went online, man, I don't have any of it. Hey, Vero, I agree that, yeah, I do have a culture, but like, I got so much to improve. Where would be the first couple of places for somebody listening in? Because this is a no bullshit podcast. So, our goal here is to have people listen in and walk away with, hey, man, I can take that and start working on it. So what would be 1 or 2 steps that you would advise, when a contractor comes to us, that might be a quick win for somebody listening in? Where would you have them start the first couple of steps?
Online you have so much information. So you have to take that information, for example, best job ad you could ever write, for example, but you have to take that and think about your company, commit to think and to start. You can ask your employees, okay, what do you like about working here? And use that information as a testimonial, for example, or as an idea to put some really good stuff in your ads. So that's a good place.
That's a great idea.
Mhm.
Get the
Yeah.
team to do the heavy lifting for you. And by the way, they're going to know it. They're probably going to see it more than you would.
Yes, totally, for sure.
Awesome. What would
So
be
that's a
one more
good.
step? What would be one last one?
One more step would be leverage on what you already have. For example, if you already have Facebook or Instagram, etc., start using those channels to connect with your potential candidates. Mhm.
I love it. Like, it's all doable, right?
Yes, totally. And I have one more thing that has been really useful for us is the referral program. That is, talking to your own employees or people that you know. And okay, if you know someone who could be a good fit for this role that I have open in my company, okay, tell this person to contact me, etc. Through that program, we have been finding some good qualified candidates. So that's a good strategy for sure. Mhm.
That's super powerful. And that really resonates with me because a huge part of our team here, and even my team that I had when I had a contracting company, it was all like, let's face it, contractors, tradies hang with tradies, right? We go to the pub, have a pint, hook up sometimes for breakfast. We're all shooting shit. We're all like, it's it's an undefined community. And when somebody's at a workplace, your team members, especially your A players, and again, correct me if I'm wrong here, Vero, but I found that the A players, they want you to succeed. Okay. And they also want in an ethical and a good way, but a bit of, in a natural, selfish way, they want to work with people that they want to work with.
Yeah.
Right. And an A player hangs with A players, right? I believe that good people hang with good people, bad people hang with bad people. The thieves know other thieves, right? Good people don't know the thieves. The good people are good people, right?
Yeah.
So it's just a natural human instinct that if you have an A player, the odds that he knows somebody else that's an A player is because he wants to hang with those people. And so it's to his advantage, let alone you might want to, Vero, do you recommend like incentivizing them or anything?
That could be an option. For example, you can, offer like if you, with a policy, of course, if we find someone through you that stay with us at least, 1 or 3 months, etc., who could give you any X amount of bonus, for example.
Right.
So it depended of the budget of each, company, etc.
Yep.
But it could be, for example, a week off. It could be not only money, but other kind of incentive for sure.
Right.
Yes.
Right. Well said. So those are some really good strategies. Okay. So like, guys, leverage your team. They're right there. Okay. I don't care if it's you got 2 people working for you, 100 people, like that they know, next one was like, leverage where you already are. Okay. And amplify that. So if you're on Facebook, amplify. Don't try and do it all at once. If you're on Instagram, focus on Instagram, but pick one, focus in on it. And try to abide by these rules that we talked about and things that are going to attract these people, and start changing your language. And third, you said is leverage, your team members that you currently have to find other A players, which is amazing. Okay. So my last little tip goes back to what we talked on already, which is audit one or all of those areas with what we covered off today. Go back, pause, write down the things that we covered off, do an audit, pick one area. If right now you got ads out, take a look at your ads and go, man, what do I have in here that Vero covered off regarding these 2 generations, which is going to be 85% of the workforce. That's crazy, right? And I guess my very last comment is this. It's a little bit harsh, okay? You get, to a certain degree, what you deserve from the perspective of your ability to adapt. Okay. If you keep playing the way that you're playing, trying to do it the way that you've been doing it and it has been working, guys, you're going to keep getting the same result. Okay. And it's probably piss poor result. If you can take some of these things, not all of them, just some of them, okay, and apply it, I know Vero knows your results are going to improve. And one of the greatest things that you want to understand is that 90+% contractors out there, look at your competitors. Are they doing this? They probably aren't. Okay. So if you start doing this, you're going to be looked upon as the place to go and work for. So you can start it right away. Like Vero said, you guys all have cell phones. You all have access to this technology. It's not like you don't, you do. And we'll see you guys on the next episode where Vero and I are going to get into, the effects of not hiring the right people. Vero's going to bring some amazing stats to the table. We're going to talk about how to identify and how to pre-filter so you don't bring in somebody. And if it's all right with you, Vero, leverage some of that to sort of do a bit of a self-assessment of the team that they have.
Totally. And one more thing around that is what if you find your A player? Is that all? No. You have to do another thing to retain them. So that's a big thing here. So we have to talk about that for sure.
Yeah, I think about this, guys. Have you ever lost an A player where you're like, what happened? I can't keep my guys.
Oh, God.
Well, guess what? You want to plug the holes in the boat first before you go and try and row across the lake, right?
Totally.
Okay. So awesome. Thank you, Vero. We'll have part 2 of this, everybody. Apply these things, pick one thing, apply it, move your business forward. There's people out there that would love to work for you if you, make it attractable. You all have this ability to do this. So make it happen. And if you want to reach out to us about the done for you hiring process, or even interested in finding out more about that or what that process looks like, you can reach out to us and have a call and we'll give you some insights under the hood and we'll go from there. So thanks, Vero. We'll see you on the next
Thank you.
part 2. Hey, rock stars. Thank you for watching the No Bullshit Podcast for Contractors. If you enjoyed this episode, hit the subscribe button. And if you're serious about growing and need help, click on the link below. Myself and my team would love to help and give you the necessary tools so you can take your contracting business to the next level. And remember, dominate, delegate, and deliver.